Welcome into another edition of Bet. I'm your host, Anita Marks, on this fantastic Monday night where we've got a great Monday night football game for you. I've got a slew of guests who are going to be joining me. Erin Dolan with some NFL picks, Joe Fortenbaugh with some NFL and college picks, and the one and only Buster Olney, who's going to be joining us because, as we know, baseball is in action in the postseason, so we've got to get those picks in place in for you as well. But let's start with the wonderful and fabulous Erin Dolan joining us from the freezing temperatures up there in Bristol, Connecticut. Erin, how you doing? You ready for this Monday night football game tonight?
I am good, yes. Ready for this Monday night football matchup. It's actually going to be a good one. I feel like lately there have been some games on Thursday and Monday night that haven't been that exciting. So this is definitely a good one with this AFC West showdown.
Okay, we're going to get to all of that in just a second. But as always, on Mondays, we like to start off with reaction or no action. And we're starting with the Phillies. As we know, they're getting ready to take on the Braves. Listen, the Braves have owned this series in the regular season. They went 11 of 19. But here is your reaction or no action question. And that is, will the Phillies beat the Braves in the NLDS? Now, you can get this at plus 174. What are you going to do here?
No action for me on this one. Now, look, I'm a Phillies fan, but in terms of taking them to win this, I'm just not sure that's going to be plausible. This feels like a type of series that you want to bet game to game. And a lot of people were really surprised the Phillies were able to even advance to this point. And over the weekend, it was a really bad weekend to be a Cardinal because, as you know, the Eagles also beat the Arizona Cardinals. But nonetheless, if you look back to this season, they do have, a database, I would say, of games they played against each other. So they played against each other 19 times, with the Braves winning 11 of those, and they were winning 88-85. So again, these have been kind of tight games, which is why I would suggest betting game per game instead of betting on the series.
Yeah, I'm with you. No action here for me. As we know, this is a Braves team, and take it from me because, of course, as you know, out here in New York, I cover the Mets. The Braves dominated that Mets series. They've been one of the best Major League Baseball teams since the trade deadline, and they've gone 18-8 in September. They called up Strider, of course, to help their pitching rotation, as well as Magic Mike in their lineup. And since then, they've just been unbelievable. And let's be honest, they do have a better bullpen, especially with Jansen as their closer. So no action there for me as well. Question number 2, Aaron Judge. Will he be the World Series MVP? And Aaron, you could get this at 14-1. Reaction or no action?
No action here for me. Now, a lot of this is going to determine on the length and how far the Yankees really go and try to, go into this playoffs and whatnot. But in general, when you're looking back at this award, you got 14 of the last 17 awards were by non-pitchers. That going back to 2004, But pitchers have won the award 29 times. It's football season. NBA is about to start. I'm not betting MLB. I'm sorry. I just can't do it.
Just because the odds are so juicy, reaction, why not? And maybe, I always tell people don't bet with your heart, but maybe I am betting with my heart here. Again, I am in New York. I cover the Yankees. I cover the Mets. It's been an unbelievable season for Aaron Judge. And again, at 14-1, why not? Listen, they are peaking at the right time. It's been peaks, it's been valleys for this Yankees team this season. And they are peaking right now. 331 on base average. Rizzo, 32 home runs on top of course, what we've seen Aaron Judge do. Stanton is healthy and back in the lineup again. Cole is pitching well, leading Major League Baseball with the most strikes. As we know, their speed bump, the hurdle that they're going to have to get over, the Houston Astros. And if they do, I think there's a good chance they could win the World Series. As we know, the MVP will come from that World Series champion. So reaction for me, again, because it's Judge, and I do like the odds. Question number 3, Daniel Carlson, field goal kicker for the Las Vegas Raiders, makes 3 extra points tonight. Not 1, not 2, but 3, Aaron, and you could get this at plus 152. Reaction or no action?
No action for me on this, and I feel like I'm definitely no fun on this Monday. But the reason being is he hasn't been able to do that so far this season. We know for Derek Carr, he's had 2 touchdown passes at least in the first couple of weeks, but he didn't have any against the Denver Broncos. And that's what this really is going to come down to. If anything, I feel like I would look at a market like Derek Carr over 1.5 passing touchdowns, just given that he has done it a couple times so far this season. But really, this Raiders team, I feel like this is kind of a situation where you look at other player props rather than the kicker being able to have 3 points, just given I'm not sure if Derek Carr will be able to throw 3 passing touchdowns in this one.
Yeah, so this is no action for me as well. The Raiders, they are just god-awful in the red zone. They rank 27th in the NFL in regard to scoring touchdowns once they get into the red zone. So obviously the team's going to have to score a touchdown in order for him to kick a field goal, to kick an extra point. But he's 12 for 12 in field goals. So I've got a prop bet coming your way when we start talking prop bets that has to do with Daniel Carlson that you want to stay tuned for. But no, I'm going no action with 3 extra kicks. All right, let's break down the game. It's time for us. Monday Night Football, as we know, it's the Raiders going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs have been unbelievable. The line, Erin, is -7. The over-under is at 51.5. Here's my play in this. I truly believe that the game script is going to go one or two ways. Either Kansas City is going to kick the living snot out of the Las Vegas Raiders, or this is going to be a close game and possibly come down to the wire for a field goal or possibly a touchdown. So this is how I'm playing it. I'm going to buy it down. I'm going to buy it down to -6.5. And I'm going to lay, it's -135. So if you're watching the show, you know what that means, but maybe there's somebody who's not. You're laying $135 down to win $100, okay? That's the metric there for you. For a number of reasons. As we know, Kansas City, uber impressive, right? They rushed for 190 yards against the Bucs the other week, and the Bucs defense, one of the best in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is having a vintage Mahomes season. Their defense, top 6 in pressure rate, 8th in yards per play allowed, 3rd in yards per carry to running backs in the backfield at 3.3 yards. That's all they're allowing. So their defense is solid. They're all. But here's the thing with Las Vegas: they switched up their defensive coordinator. It's no longer Gus Bradley. So it's Patrick Graham, who used to be the defensive coordinator here with the Giants. And I'm really curious. He's been running a lot of cover 2 as opposed to cover 3, which Gus Bradley used to run. So this Raiders defense could, besides the Kansas City Chiefs, Erin, used to score 35 points against the Raiders. I don't think they can put up 35 points. But if Patrick Graham comes in as a defensive coordinator with a different scheme that might slow him down a little bit, I think this game is going to be closer. So that's why I'm buying the points. I'm going to buy it down to -6.5. And again, you can get that at -135. That's my play. Your thoughts?
I like the way you're thinking. You've obviously decided to break it down in terms of this could go either way, and those are the 2 ways that I agreed this could potentially go. I was looking at the Chiefs team total earlier today. It was at 29.5, moved up to 30.5, and obviously, as we know, the Chiefs, they can put up a ton of points. In fact, against the Raiders, they're averaging 37 points in Patrick Mahomes' last 8 starts against them. But at the same time, this feels like it could be a wonky game. It's Monday night, divisional matchup. I just feel like there's no great ground to really feel confident on the spread or that total, because, I mean, like I said, the Chiefs are as high as 30.5 in terms of their team total. So it's really up to how many points the Raiders going to score. So for me personally, it's just kind of like a stay away thing in terms of the side and the total.
Okay, so this is how we're playing the game. It's time for Erin and I to dive into all our prop bets that we're gonna have action on tonight. So Erin, let's start with you. What are you playing?
All right, we're going to go with Derek Carr over 38.5 passing attempts. He's averaging 39 passing attempts so far this season, but it's really about that Chiefs defense, which ranks 27th against the pass. And if you look at that Chiefs defense, the past couple of quarterbacks that they faced, Tom Brady, he threw 52 times last week. Justin Herbert, he threw 48 times. And if you look back to Derek Carr last season, he averaged 40 passing attempts against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I do see him slinging the ball, especially if the Raiders are down. They're going to end up having to throw the ball. And I really do think a player like Devonte Adams might have a really big game in terms of that as well. Another player prop that I am looking at is Josh Jacobs under 61.5 rushing yards. This kind of coincides with my first prop bet, thinking that they're going to be slinging the ball all game. In the last 3 games against the Kansas City Chiefs, you got Josh Jacobs, who averaged 32 rushing yards. And the Chiefs defense, they're not good against the pass, ranked 27th, but against the run, they're ranked first, only allowing opponents 66 rushing yards per game. So I do think Josh Jacobs will be limited in this game. Derek Carr will be slinging the ball. So I think you go with some prop bets. And also another one just to keep an eye on. It's not one that I'm personally betting, but Derek Carr to throw an interception. I mean, this guy's thrown an interception left and right against the Kansas City Chiefs. And if he's going to be slinging the ball tonight, there is a shot that he would be able to will throw an interception, but it's not one I'm personally betting. I just wanted to throw it out there since, again, I think he'll hit over his passing attempts.
So, Erin, lockstep with you in regard to those first two prop bets that I'm on with you. Derek Carr over, of course, passing attempts. Quarterbacks are averaging 44 passing attempts against the Kansas City Chiefs because you got to stay up to speed with, I call it keeping up with the Mahomies as opposed to keeping up with the Joneses. You're keeping up with the Mahomies. So I'm with you on that. Also, get this stat, okay? Kansas City Chiefs defense, they held Connor, Eckler, JT, and Fournette all to a combined 135 points. So I'm with you on the Jacobs under as well. Now here are some of the other bets. You talked about Devonte Adams. That's where I'm wearing his shirt tonight. That's right, over receptions and over yards. Kansas City's biggest weakness on defense is against the pass, and they're ranked 29th against opposing teams' #1 wide receivers. So that's why I like Devonte Adams. Like I said earlier, Daniel Carlson, over 1.5 field goals. Dude's 12 for field goals, and the Raiders are horrible in the red zone, ranked 27th in scoring touchdowns. Mahomes under passing yards. Listen, I do, even though we're both going on the under for Jacobs, I do believe that the Raiders are going to be committed to running the football to try to eat up time of possession. And also, I do believe that Patrick Graham, new defensive coordinator for the Raiders, is going to have something up his sleeve. So I'm going under passing yards from Mahomes. And last but not least, Juju Smith-Schuster over receiving yards. He's got a 22% target share. And the Raiders struggle big time. Wide receivers who come out of the slot, and Juju runs his routes out of the slot over 50% of the time. So that's the
plethora.
The plethora of prop bets that you and I are both going to have in tonight's game. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at our pay dirt picks, Erin. And we always look before we look forward. And of course, this is our picks for players to score touchdowns. Last week, you had Deebo Samuel. You laid down $10. Guess what? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Mama's buying a new pair of shoes. You're up $110.38. I played Deebo as well. Didn't put as much on him. I split it because I thought Cooper Kupp was going to get a touchdown. Sure enough, he did not, but I did win with Deebo. So I'm working with $87.38. So with that being said, who do you have scoring touchdowns tonight?
I'm going to have Adams to score a touchdown. This was an interesting stat that Sig had passed along to me. So through 4 weeks, the Chiefs have allowed 10 passing touchdowns to opponents. That's tied with the Titans and the Commanders for the worst. So I wanted to look at the Raiders squad. Like I said, I expect Derek Carr to be slinging the ball. Adams will ultimately find the end zone. If anybody, I expect him to have a big game. It is a primetime game. This man needs to show out. On top of that, he's had a touchdown 3 or 4 games already this season. So I'd have to take him as my pay dirt pick.
I'm with you as well. I'm putting $10 down for Devonte Adams to score a touchdown. Hopefully he does. I'm wearing his shirt tonight. If he's watching, please do. Since week 14, he has scored a touchdown in 7 of his last 9 games, on top of the 10 passing touchdowns that you alluded to with Kansas City. I'm also going to throw some money on Hunter Renfrow. I love me some Hunter Renfrow. He's back from concussion. He got 10 targets in week 2 before he went out. And again, KC, very, very weak against slot wide receivers as well. Erin, Dolan, you rock. Appreciate you on Bet.
Yes.
Enjoy the Monday Night Football game and make sure you get home safely.
Same to you.
You got it. We go from Erin Dolan to Joe Fortenbaugh. That's right. We go from Bristol, Connecticut, Burr, to Las Vegas. I love it. Joe Fortenbaugh is joining us now. Joe, great to have you on the show. I know we're going to talk some college football, but before we do, big Monday Night Football game tonight. Share with the people, feed them, help them make some money. How are you playing it?
Yeah, not great to be here. I was told there would be cocktails, and knowing that you're hosting, I figured this would be set up. I showed up in my bartender vest. I got nothing. So let's go ahead with some picks. Monday Night Football, let's start with the side. I will play the Raiders at 7.5 or better tonight. They've been very unlucky so far this season. 1-3 on the year, but they're already 0-3 in one-score games. That's incredible. Kansas City, to their credit, already 1-0 in one-score games. So I think the line's a bit inflated. In addition to that, people are looking to what happened last year where the Chiefs crushed these guys. That was under Gus Bradley as defensive coordinator, okay? Bradley runs that single high safety defense that is archaic in today's NFL. That's why they got torched. Patrick Graham, I heard you talking about him earlier, Anita. I was paying attention. I'm always listening to you. He was the defensive coordinator of the Giants last year. In that matchup at Arrowhead against the Chiefs, they held Kansas City to less than 400 total yards and only 20 points in a close game. So I do like the Raiders to keep it close, plus 7.5. Prop bet for you, because I know you're the queen, so I showed up with one. Josh Jacobs, Raiders running back, over 18.5 receiving yards. All right, they've been featuring him more in the offensive passing game over the last 2 weeks. 11 targets, 10 receptions, 62 yards. He's averaging 22 receiving yards per game on the season, so we're not asking him to do much against the defense that has given up more targets, more receptions, and more receiving yards to the running back position than any team in the NFL so far this season entering Week 5. And that's not an anomaly. They struggled defending running backs in the passing game last year. I believe they will struggle again tonight.
I like it. I'll throw some coin on that as soon as the show's over. All right, Joe, we're going to dive into some college football, some of your top plays, and some of the big games heading into Week 7 of the college football season. Let's start first and foremost, Penn State, Michigan. Michigan favored by 7. Over-under is 51.5. Michigan destroyed Indiana this past week. These are two top 10 unbeaten teams. How are you playing this one?
So I haven't done anything with the side yet. I'm waiting. That number of 7 is very interesting. Penn State's got 2 weeks to get ready for this game. They're coming off a bye. I have a feeling if the books go to 7.5, you're going to see the sharps jump on Penn State. If it goes to 6.5, they're going to jump on Michigan. So we're sitting on a key number. I would look to the under of 51.5 total points in this game. Two very good defenses in terms of opponent yards per play. Two very good defenses in terms of points allowed. Since James Franklin got to Penn State and John Harbaugh got to Michigan, these two have gone against each other 7 times. 5 of those games have featured 49 or fewer points. I think we have a tight one. Not willing to get involved in the side yet, but I see it low scoring. I'm going under 51.5.
It's his brother Jim, both equally as neurotic. But yeah.
What did I say? Did I say John?
Just so I don't make. You did, but it's okay. It's okay. I just go by
Forget
Harbs.
that guy. No, forget that guy. What's he doing turtling up last night?
You know Harbs?
What's he doing turtling up last night? Go for it on 4th down. Put the game away and cover the spread, John. You're scared about what happened last week against the Bills? What are you doing? Then your soft defense lets them go right down the field. Clearly, I had the Ravens last night. How dare you bring that up, Anita? How dare you? I'm here doing you a favor.
You clearly had them. All right, let's move to our college game number 2. It's Oklahoma State going up against TCU. TCU favored by 4, over-under 68. Both these teams coming off impressive wins, right? TCU against Kansas. I thought Kansas was going to pull it out. I did have my money on them. Also, Oklahoma State over Texas Tech. How are you playing this bad boy?
Super conflicted here, all right? Super conflicted. TCU has been so good to me this season. I've got to be able to move past that. But right now, I do like TCU minus the 4 points. Every week you think they're going to stumble because the spot becomes bigger and bigger. They don't. They had the revenge game for Sonny Dykes at his old school a few weeks ago against SMU. They had no problem handling business. The next week they got to get up for Oklahoma. They trounce them. Then they got to get up again on the road at undefeated Kansas. Bear and Game Day are there. Everyone's excited. And they handle their business there as well. So now they're coming home to play the Cowboys, who have been fantastic this season. I'm leaning to TCU. I'm probably going to play TCU. But Bear's been chirping about how Mike Gundy's always so great in these games. Mike Gundy in these games. Mike Gundy in these games. So he's in my ear. I do listen to the big fella from time to time. I'm on TCU right now, but it's a smaller play.
Big one happening between Alabama and Tennessee, right? So many question marks. Bryce Young, will he play? Will he not? Alabama's been winning ugly because of the Bryce Young injury. Meanwhile, Tennessee's been looking pretty. They're going to be at home. That stadium's going to be rocking. Right now, Alabama favored minus 7.5 against Tennessee. The over-under is at 65.5. I don't know about you, but I want to run to the window to make sure I get this hook right now, Joe. What say you?
So this is like the worst answer ever when we do this stuff, and I hate when Stanford Steve does this, but I'm going to do it. I haven't done anything with this yet. I'm too scared. That's what this comes down to. I'm too scared. I bet on Bama against A&M this past weekend. Maybe this backup quarterback eventually becomes good. He was not good in that game. He had 2 monster fumbles in that game. It's clear they don't want him throwing the ball a lot because they don't trust him. So if Bryce Young's not going to go, or I don't know who's going to play, I got to stay back because there is a big drop-off at the quarterback position. Meanwhile, Tennessee just keeps answering the bell. Scoring close to 50 points a game this season. They move super fast. The secondary's a bit of a concern. Even if Alabama has to go with the backup quarterback, maybe he's able to take advantage of that. I don't know. So for right now, worst answer ever. Classic Stanford Steve. It's a stay away. I'll get back to you later in the week.
Okay, I'm running to get the hook. That's what I'm doing. Last but not least, let's talk this line, this spread, this game. Something smells really fishy here. I don't know what it is, but USC and Utah favored by 3.5. The over-under's at 60.5. You're telling me unbeaten USC is getting points? Meanwhile, Utah lost to Florida in week 1 and just is coming off a loss to UCLA? What gives? Explain this to me.
So I'm going to start by channeling my inner Doug Kazarian and give you a market report here. Well, we saw earlier in the week, Utah was laying 2.5, 3. Then some sharp money came in on Utah, and it pushed the line up to 3.5. It got as high as 4.5. So here's what's happening. The sharp groups that like USC, they were buying at plus 4.5. The sharp groups that like Utah were paying around 3. Some shops had 2.5 before this even got started. So it's conflicted here. I'm looking to the over in this game, all right? I want to say USC, but Utah is much better playing at home. They're going to have the crowd noise, the elevation. People are off them after they got embarrassed by UCLA last week. They've got 2 losses this season. Both were road games. They played much better at home. But I don't necessarily want to fade USC because they've been fantastic. They're 4-2 against the spread. They score a ton of points. They move really quick. I'm going to play the over. I think USC is going to find a way to put its points up. And USC's defense, while it's gotten better in recent weeks, Utah and Cam Rising at quarterback are going to find their way to put points up as well, riding the crowd noise at home. It's a high number at 60.5, but I will play the over.
I like it. I like the play. Joe, you rock. I know you've got Daily Wager coming up. What time are you guys? 5 o'clock, right? 5 p.m. Eastern time?
5:30 Eastern time. It's your boy, Joe Fortenbaugh, and the merry band of miscreants. 30 minutes to get you set for Monday Mayhem, Raiders and Chiefs. Thank God I didn't give away all my material here for anyone watching, but I do have a few more picks. Come on over, check us out.
Fantastic. Joe, thank you so much. Enjoy the game tonight.
You too, Anita. Always a pleasure.
We go from Joe Fortenbaugh to the one and only Buster Olney. Folks don't know this. Buster and I go way back to our Baltimore days. Buster, I don't want to date myself, so we'll just leave it right there. How about that?
Could you be dating me too, okay? If you were to give the timeline, come on.
All right, let's jump right into it. Major League Baseball postseason is here. Wild card race is over. It's time to get to the nitty-gritty. And let's start first and foremost. So the first game, Phillies and Braves, as we know, the Braves took 11 of 19 against the Phillies this season. However, the run differential was only 88 to 85. So these teams, someone might feel somewhat evenly matched. How surprised would you be, Buster, if Philly won Game 1 in Atlanta?
I would be shocked. I think this is where the experience in the postseason really begins to manifest, with the Braves in recent years picking up a lot. And I think this is where the advantage of not playing in the wild card game manifests. You think about it, Max Fried, when he takes the mound in Game 1, it'll be his 18th appearance in the postseason. Ranger Suarez, on the other hand, starting for the Phillies, his first appearance. I had a conversation with Dansby Swanson, the Braves shortstop, about how that experience for the Braves is becoming a weapon. And he said, it's really becoming to the point where it's in your DNA, where there's an expectation among the Braves players that they're not only going to win games, but win games at a high level. And look, as the series starts, the Braves have their pitching all in alignment. The Phillies, on the other hand, they're all a jumble.
So this is how I'm playing this in regard to the series. I'm going to play the Braves to win the series, but 3-1, and you can get that at 3-1. Again, this is a Braves team. As you know, I cover the Mets. They're just so good. We've been keeping an eye on this Braves team. 18-8 in September since they called up Strider as well as Magic Mike. They've been unbelievable, and they have a better bullpen. Question number 2. You've got the Mariners going up against the Houston Astros. The Mariners coming off of a game, 10 spot of runs. Unbelievable, right? Like greatest possibly postseason comeback that we've seen. But the total for this first game is over under 6.5 runs. That seemed a little low considering what we just saw, what this Mariners lineup was able to do.
Yeah, I think generally speaking it is. I would take the over, but that's because of what I think Houston's going to do against Seattle and not based on what the Mariners are going to do against the Game 1 starting pitcher for the Astros, Justin Verlander, who dominated them during the postseason. 6 starts against Seattle, 5-1, 2.34 ERA. He's likely going to win the American League Cy Young Award after having a 1.75 ERA. So I think the Mariners are going to have a tough time scoring runs in Game 1, Anita.
I hear you. Even if I do this, I don't know if this will work. If I put the shoe on my head, can you see it? Can you see my shoe on my head? I don't know if you can. Anyway, okay. All right. This is how I'm playing this. I'm going and folks who don't know, it's the head over the shoe rally for Seattle. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that. That joke may have fallen way flat, but nonetheless, this is how I'm playing this. I'm going Houston Astros to sweep the series. And Buster, we can get this at plus 320, right? I don't care shoe, no shoe. Man, this Houston Astros team, they're unbelievable. Verlander, 5-1 with a 2.34 ERA against Seattle this season, and they have dominated the American League. So I'm going with the Astros with a full sweep at plus 320. And talking about sweeping and runs, the Guardians swept the Rays, right? Unbelievable, scored 3 runs. The Rays, only 3 guns total in that series. Cleveland plays a style of baseball one might call death by 1,000 paper cuts. Meanwhile, you've got a Yankees team, man. They're all about power, right? Aaron Judge, we've seen what he's been able to do. Home runs left and right. How does Cleveland counter that?
Well, I think Cleveland potentially takes advantage of the nerves of Garrett Cole. Look, I've covered a lot of great players who had difficulty in the postseason because they put a lot of pressure on themselves. We know Alex Rodriguez did. Roger Clemens did for a long period of time. I think Garrett Cole is falling into that trap. We saw in the wild card game in the American League last year against the Red Sox, 2+ innings, 4 hits, 3 runs allowed. We saw in big moments during the course of this regular season when the Yankees really needed him. He kind of struggled. So I think if you're the Guardians, you already have great pitching, and I think you're going to have opportunities to beat Garrett Cole and get this series off to a good start.
So I think the series is going to go to the distance. I do believe the Yankees win 3-2, and you could get that at plus 280. I just think maybe the Yankees being idle is going to take them a minute to kind of get that engine revving again. And of course, you had Boone, who sent Chapman home because he didn't show up for practice. But of course, Buster, we're talking about practice, not a game. We're talking about practice. But he still was sent home to Miami. All right, let's talk about the Padres. They'll face the division foe of theirs, of course, the Dodgers, with 111 wins this season. Freddie Freeman, we know he's been unbelievable. Turner as well. They're the favorites to win the World Series. What would you say is their weakness? Do the Dodgers have a weakness that we're not privy to?
Yeah, I think it's potentially the bullpen. It's very interesting that you have this team that was so accomplished during the regular season. They won all those games that you referenced, and yet as we go into the playoffs and potentially the World Series, their bullpen's kind of a jumble, right? They've got a lot of good options, it seems like. Dave Roberts has faith, generally speaking, in that group, but they just dropped Craig Kimbrell out of the closer role a little while ago. And, maybe during the course of the postseason, he goes back into it. That's pretty unusual to see a team that great have so many questions about the bullpen. They've had a ton of injuries in that group out there. It'll be interesting to see who exactly Dave Roberts is trusting in big moments as they go into the postseason.
I don't need to spend a lot of time talking about this. I'm looking at a full sweep here, and you could get that the Dodgers 3-0 at plus 300, which is, I'm going Dodgers full sweep here, so 3-0. Before we let you go, all 4 road teams are dogs, right? For both Game 1 and the series. Are you calling an upset anywhere?
Yes, and I'd say this. Look, I don't think the Padres are going to get swept because they're playing so loose. I was at Citi Field all weekend. I don't think they're going to beat the Dodgers. They are going to make that series very interesting. My underdog to win, the Guardians. Look, I think the Yankees, the fact that we talked the last couple weeks so much about Aaron Judge really obscured, overshadowed a real issue that was developing with the Yankees, and that was their bullpen. Now, Cleveland has excellent starting pitching. They have an excellent bullpen. The Yankees, on the other hand, their bullpen's a mess. Today, Aaron Boone's answering questions about who's going to be available, who's healthy, who's throwing a bullpen session. You talked about Aroldis Chapman. I think that's the issue that's going to take them down in this series against the Guardians.
Wow. A New York City without the Mets or the Yankees in the World Series? Blasphemy. Blasphemy. Buster, always great seeing your face and talking to you. Thank you so much for spending time with us on Bet. Thank you.
Thanks, Anita.
You got it. You got it. Buster Olney joining us. New segment that we're incorporating in the show. It's called Before I Let You Go. Guess what? I'm still alive in my survivor pool. I know. Almost 50% of the country was eliminated in week 1, and I'm still alive. Of course, I picked the Buffalo Bills last week. I know I didn't go out on a limb. But this week, who am I looking at? I am favoring the 49ers heading to Atlanta. Why? They destroyed Carolina this past week, 37-15. Jimmy Garoppolo, call him a game manager, but boy, is he accurate. And this 49ers defense is just unbelievable. And of course, Atlanta, fun to watch, pistol offense that they run, but no challenge for this 49ers defense. So if you're still alive like me in survivors, well then I would say go with the 49ers. If you already used them, nothing wrong with the Bucs going up against the rookie quarterback in Pittsburgh, right? Kenny Pickett. Anyway, thank you so much for watching Bet. Appreciate it. Good gambling tonight and enjoy the game.